our first speaker today is delivering his second speech in the Competent Communicator Guide. His title is Don't Be a Victim. Please welcome Craig Gabriolini in speech number 2, Don't Be a Victim.
Imagine, if you will, you and your family are returning back to your car after visiting a brand new city and doing some sightseeing. You finally remember what lot you parked your car in, you finally identify your car and start to make your way towards it as you're looking forward to getting into it, going to the hotel, relaxing, and looking forward to some dinner. Well, you reach into your pocket, you pull out your keys, you look up, and then you see it. Your window's broken. There's glass all over the ground, your heart starts to race. Who did this? How did this happen? What did they take? And just as that sick feeling begins to grow in the pit of your stomach, the last question is, now what? Unfortunately, this event happened to my wife and I about 4 weeks ago while we were visiting San Francisco up at Fisherman's Wharf. Broad daylight in the middle of a business district, somebody had smashed the glass to my car and pulled out my backpack, which contained my checkbook, and my computer, which contained all of my school files from this current quarter. But thankfully, to a good insurance company that was pretty faithful with the check, and a good bank that locked down my account as soon as I asked them to, and some solid classmates that were able to get me all the class notes I needed to get me through this past finals week, life's pretty much back to normal. And so hindsight is 20/20, and looking back at it and talking it over with my wife and the discussions that we had with the police department, there are a few mistakes that I made, and there are a lot of lessons that I learned. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late for me, but I would like to take those lessons that I learned from that day and share them with all of you in the event that it never happens to you. So the lessons I'm going to share are how to make your parked car less of a target to other people, and how to protect your identity and the files on your computer in the unlikely event that you lose them. Your car. When you park your car somewhere, hide your belongings. Your parents probably told you this all the time. It doesn't matter if you're going to grandma's house or you're going to the store. Move your belongings out of plain sight. Move them into the trunk. It doesn't matter if it's your luggage or your dirty laundry. Get them out of the way. This is the advice I received from the police department when I went to go file my police claim, because what the desk officer had told me was that the reason why my car was broken into was because they actually saw something sitting in the seat. Had I had nothing in plain view, they probably would have moved on to another car, and I wouldn't be telling you this story. Next, park your car in an indoor garage. That means you pull in, there's an actual physical attendant, and it's an indoor building. This provides two benefits. One, the attendant is a physical presence, which is a deterrence to anybody who would want to come into the garage and try to take anything from your car. And two, the security cameras are definitely a giant deterrence, because thieves obviously don't want to be caught. So please, pay the fee. If it's an extra $5 an hour at a city that you haven't been to before, and you get a peace of mind. Unfortunately, my wife and I parked in an open municipal lot that was self-pay, clearly and easily visible from the street, and easy access to the car. Next, lock your glove box. Not most people think about this. It's kind of difficult to break into your car, and if a thief actually does it, and you have a car alarm, he only has a limited amount of time to grab what he needs before it runs off and gets out of the way. Well, if he has to break into your car, and he has to break into your glove box on top of that, well, it's a little bit more difficult. Now, you might not think to yourself, well, why would I need to lock my glove box? Think about what you keep in your glove box. Your insurance ID cards, and also your registration. And on your registration is typically your name, your address, your telephone number, and maybe some insurance account numbers. Unfortunately, those items together make you a potential victim for identity theft. So by keeping your glove box locked, you won't have to worry about that. Another valuable possession that all of us tend to have these days is a computer, especially laptop computers. They're affordable, they're portable, and for a student or a traveling business professional, they're almost essential. But unfortunately, the convenience of a laptop means they're also easier to steal and break into. Here are some of the things I learned about keeping the file safe and keeping your identity safe in the event that you happen to lose your computer. One, don't keep any documents on your laptop that have any personal, identifiable information. That means your name, address, social security number, telephone, such information like that. With online banking and insurance companies the way they are today, you can easily access all of that information securely and easily. You can store any documents you need. There's no need these days to have to store any documents on your actual computer. Because once they have your computer, they have the files that's in them. 2, back up your documents. This was the hardest lesson for me to learn. Friends and family have told me this all the time. If you have documents on your computer and it's the only place that you're going to keep them, they're going to get lost. Somehow, some way, you're going to lose them. And I agree with them, and I nodded with them, and I didn't listen to them, and here I stand. External hard drives and thumb drives are really an inexpensive item these days. You can buy them anywhere. Best Buy, Target, even down at the local exchange down the road. For the brief inconvenience of time to transfer your documents from your computer to these external devices and the little bit of money that you have to spend to do that, it really is well worth the time and money to do it. Finally, if you do back up your documents, be sure that the device that you back up your documents is kept separate from the computer that was in that. Because if they're together and the bag goes away, yeah. I learned that lesson the hard way, unfortunately, too. I was diligent, I put everything on the thumb drive, and away went the bag. So, needless to say, with no further explanation, you probably should keep everything that you back it up with at home. To conclude, please, be careful parking your car wherever you're going, whether you're on travel or even if you're in the local area. Also, please consider the contents of your computer. They're not going to last forever. And if they're only in one place, they're really vulnerable to be stolen or taken from you. And lastly, I hope all of you take my lesson to heart so you won't ever have to stand up here and share my story. Let's just